Every year, over 400 million people ride roller coasters around the world. For most people, it's the ultimate thrill, the speed, the drops, that feeling in your stomach. But what happens when the thrill ride becomes a death trap? These are the worst roller coaster deaths in history. London, 1972. A group of school children were on a class trip to the Battersea Park Fun Fair. It was supposed to be the best day of their young lives. The children ran from ride to ride, laughing, eating cotton candy, having the time of their lives. Then they spotted it, the Big Dipper, the park's main roller coaster. They rushed to get in line. The children climbed into the cars and the ride began. The train slowly clicked its way up the first hill. But the chain mechanism that pulled the train up the hill was old, worn out. It hadn't been properly maintained in months. Halfway up the hill, the chain snapped. Without the chain holding it, the train began rolling backward, faster and faster. The children screamed as the car picked up speed, racing backward down the track. At the bottom, it slammed into another car that was sitting on the track. 5 children were killed in the impact. 13 more were seriously injured. 5 families went to a fun fair that morning. 5 families came home without their children. The disaster led to the creation of Britain's Health and Safety at Work Act, completely changing how amusement rides were inspected and maintained across the entire country. 2 years later, across the Atlantic, another amusement park disaster was waiting to happen. This time, it wasn't a roller coaster. It was something that should have been completely safe, a haunted house. Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey was one of America's most popular theme parks, and one of its most popular attractions was the Haunted Castle, a dark, maze-like walk-through haunted house. On the evening of May 11th, a group of teenagers entered the Haunted Castle. It was dark inside, pitch black. That was the point. You were supposed to feel your way through the maze. But the walls of this maze were made of polyurethane foam, one of the most flammable materials in existence. When a fire broke out, likely from a cigarette lighter, the foam walls ignited instantly. The fire spread with terrifying speed. Inside, it was complete chaos. The teenagers couldn't see. They couldn't breathe. They scrambled through the darkness trying to find an exit. But here's the horrifying truth. There were no emergency exits. No sprinkler system, no emergency alarms, no emergency lighting. Nothing. The building was a death trap waiting to happen. 8 teenagers, aged 15 to 20, died inside that haunted castle, trapped in the dark, unable to find a way out. And in perhaps the most disturbing detail, park officials initially tried to cover up the deaths. The bodies weren't found for days because nobody wanted to admit what had happened. If there's one name that represents everything that can go wrong with an amusement park, it's Action Park. Locals had other names for it: Traction Park, Class Action Park, Accident Park. Located in Vernon, New Jersey, Action Park was the brainchild of Gene Mulvihill, a businessman with absolutely no engineering background. His philosophy was simple: the more dangerous the ride, the more fun it is. Take the Cannonball Loop, a fully enclosed water slide with a complete vertical loop. When they tested it with crash test dummies, the dummies came out with missing limbs. So what did they do? They offered amusement park employees $100 to ride it. The employees who survived came out with cuts and bruises. Some got stuck at the top of the loop and had to be rescued through an emergency hatch. Then there was the Alpine Slide, a concrete track down a mountain where you sat on a small cart with a handbrake. In 1978, a teenager was thrown from the slide and died after hitting his head on a rock. The injuries were so frequent that in one single year, the Alpine Slide alone caused 14 bone fractures and 26 head injuries. The local hospital eventually set up a direct phone line to Action Park because ambulances were called so often. The wave pool was nicknamed the Grave Pool. It needed 12 lifeguards. A normal pool has 2 or 3. Multiple people drowned in it over the years. But perhaps the most unbelievable incident happened on the kayak ride. In 1982, 15-year-old George Lopez drowned after his kayak flipped in water that was electrically charged from exposed wiring under the surface. The staff were mostly untrained teenagers. Many were drunk or high on the job. The owner bribed local officials to avoid safety inspections. After at least 6 deaths and thousands of injuries over nearly 2 decades, Action Park finally closed in 1996. It remains the most dangerous amusement park in American history. Inside the West Edmonton Mall in Canada, one of the largest shopping malls in the world, there was an indoor amusement park called Galaxyland. Its star attraction was the Mindbender, the world's largest indoor triple-loop roller coaster. 3 full loops entirely inside a shopping mall. On June 14, 1986, a 4-car train entered the 3rd loop, but a critical bolt in the wheel assembly of the last car had failed. At the top of the 3rd loop, the last car derailed. It flew off the track and slammed into a concrete pillar. 3 of the 4 riders in that car were killed instantly. The 4th was critically injured. Shoppers below watched in horror as it happened right in front of them. Investigation found that a simple bolt failure caused the derailment, a bolt that should have been caught during routine maintenance checks, if anyone had been doing them properly. Japan is known for its meticulous attention to detail and safety, but even Japan is not immune to negligence. On May 5, 2007, during Golden Week, Japan's busiest holiday, Expo Land Amusement Park in Osaka was packed with visitors. Fujin Raijin 2 was a stand-up roller coaster. Riders stood upright instead of sitting. During a routine run, a wheel axle suddenly snapped. The axle had been weakened by metal fatigue, microscopic cracks that grow over time if parts aren't replaced. This axle hadn't been replaced in 15 years. The derailed car struck a metal railing near the track. 19-year-old Kome Kodure was hit in the head and killed. 19 other riders were injured. But the investigation revealed something worse. The park had been falsifying their maintenance records. Inspections that were supposed to happen never did. Records were fabricated. The park knew the rides needed maintenance and simply pretended they had done it. Expoland was permanently shut down and demolished. Criminal charges were filed against park management. Six Flags Over Texas, July 2013. Rosie Esparza, a 52-year-old mother, visited the park with her family. Her family convinced her to try the new Texas Giant, a hybrid roller coaster with a 14-story drop and speeds of nearly 100 kilometers per hour. As the ride operators locked the lap bar restraint, Esparza felt something was wrong. She told the operators, "I don't think this is secure. I don't think it's locked." The operator checked quickly and told her she was fine. She wasn't fine. During a steep turn, the unsecured lap bar allowed Esparza to slide out of her seat. She fell 75 feet to her death. Her family watched it happen. She told them the restraint wasn't secure. They told her she was fine. She trusted them, and it cost her her life. This final story is perhaps the most disturbing of all, because this wasn't just negligence. This was a ride that should never, ever have been built. Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City wanted to set a world record. They wanted to build the tallest water slide in the world. They called it Verrückt, German for insane. At 168 feet, taller than Niagara Falls, it was absolutely massive. Riders would sit in a 3-person raft and plunge down at over 100 kilometers per hour. But here's the problem. The ride was designed by park co-owner Jeff Henry. Jeff Henry did not have an engineering degree. He designed a 17-story water slide using basic internet calculations. When they tested the slide with sandbags, the rafts went airborne. They flew off the slide completely. Instead of going back to the drawing board, they just added netting overhead to catch the rafts. Riders were held in place by Velcro straps. Not seatbelts, not harnesses, Velcro. On August 7, 2016, the park hosted Elected Officials Day, a free day for local lawmakers and their families. 10-year-old Caleb Schwab, son of a Kansas state representative, climbed the 264 steps to the top of Verrückt with 2 adult women. The raft plunged down the slide, but at the bottom, just like in the sandbag tests, the raft went airborne. Caleb Schwab, a 10-year-old boy, was killed when the raft struck the overhead metal hoops. He was decapitated. The 2 women in the raft survived with severe injuries, including broken bones and facial fractures. Jeff Henry and ride designer John Shuley were indicted on criminal charges, including involuntary manslaughter and aggravated endangerment of a child. Verrückt was demolished. The park was permanently closed. The world record that Jeff Henry wanted so badly cost a 10-year-old boy his life. From a school trip in London, to a haunted house fire, to a park that was proud of being dangerous, to a water slide designed on a napkin, these disasters share one common thread. In every single case, someone chose profit over safety. Someone ignored warnings. Someone decided that cutting corners was acceptable because the chances of something going wrong were small. Today, modern roller coasters are among the safest forms of entertainment in the world. The chances of dying on a roller coaster are less than 1 in 750 million. But for these victims and their families, the statistics don't matter, because someone, somewhere, decided their safety wasn't worth the effort. If you found this video important, subscribe and hit the bell.